Tork Motors has probably been the biggest tease in the modern history of the Indian automobile industry. The company first made news way back in 2009 when its founder Kapil Shalke built an electric race bike and it won a third place podium at the Isle of Man TT. Fast forward a few more years, and in 2016 the company showed off what looked like a production-ready motorcycle. The T6X, as it was called back then, had a price and the company even opened bookings. But then, silence. In the years that followed, Tork faced the typical startup-related challenges of securing funding and then being hit by the pandemic. But in that time, the T6X also received numerous changes, including a completely different chassis and more performance and range than initially promised. It also got a new name. Fast forward another 6 years and we finally have what Tork calls its first production motorcycle. This is the Kratos R, and after all these years of waiting, we're finally getting to ride Tork's electric motorcycle. The company says that sales will begin from April 2022 onwards and the bike will be available in two forms, the Kratos and the Kratos R. The R model that you see here offers a little more performance and packs a few more features. Visually, the Kratos does have some interesting details, sort of like this lightning bolt over here, a nice little touch to the fact that this is an electric motorcycle. But overall, it's not a freaky modern looking thing. It will blend into the crowd at a parking lot, and most of all, it looks like a full-size motorcycle. While it looks conventional from a distance, there are a few unique details. For example, because there is no need for a fuel tank here, Tork has designed a pretty sizable storage space in there, along with a USB power outlet. There's also a removable plastic cover on top that's held in place by magnets, and this will cover the fast charging port on the Kratos R. However, our test bikes did not have this port installed, and the regular charging port can be found on the right side of the motorcycle. It's not just the way it looks, because this also feels like a substantial motorcycle when you sit on it. Feels like any typical 150 to 160cc sporty commuter. There is a slight rear set bias to the foot pegs, but the handlebar is nice and wide, you sit upright, and it's generally a connected but comfortable riding position. Reminds me of something like an FZ15. What's unlike a motorcycle though is that there is no foot brake lever, and that's something you're going to keep hunting for when you first ride this bike. Instead, both the brake levers are mounted on the handlebar just like you'd find on an electric scooter. And because this is an electric vehicle, there are no gears or clutch for you to bother with. The Tork Kratos is undoubtedly a handsome and striking looking machine, but when you take a closer look, it becomes clear that this bike needs more attention paid to its fit, finish and overall quality. While some things like the look and finish of the switchgear are nice, the overall finish and attention to detail is rather basic. You'll see this in things like the huge gap visible between the rear seat and the bodywork, the exposed wiring for the front indicators, and just the general feel of the plastics all over. Tork does tell us that the grainy finish on the black plastics will be more aesthetically pleasing on the bikes that are delivered to customers. Now let's talk about what lies underneath the skin. Tork has created its own trellis steel frame, and to that is mounted this large battery pack. Now, because the battery pack takes up a bulk of the space, Tork's in-house developed motor sits behind it. This motor sends power to the rear wheel via a conventional chain drive system. The Kratos and the Kratos R get Tork's own in-house developed axial flux motors. Both bikes get a different motor, with the R claiming higher peak power and torque, and that results in a small difference in the overall claimed performance. For reference, the performance that Tork claims is similar to what you'll get with an Ola S1 Pro. The Kratos will come with 3 riding modes as well as a reverse function, but our test bikes had just 2, Sport and Eco. Initial throttle response in both modes is smooth and quite gentle, but Sport mode feels much quicker in general. Eco mode does allow the bike to cross an indicated 60 km/h, so this mode should be usable in the real world as well. Tork claims a top speed of 105 kph in sport mode. Now, we only got to ride this bike on a stretch of road within a golf resort outside Pune, so a full review of the performance and range will have to wait till later. Nevertheless, both the Kratos and the Kratos R come with a 4 kWh battery pack, and the company claims a rather decent real-world range of 120 km on a full charge. While the initial impression with this powertrain was quite nice, unfortunately that didn't last very long. The roads we were riding on were quite hilly, and within 10 minutes, the motor started to overheat, which would restrict performance to the point that the bike would no longer be able to climb some of the inclines. This was something that all the test bikes at the event faced, and while the area was undoubtedly hilly, it was also a road that was used by regular commuter motorcycles and automatic scooters without any issues. Now, the company says that it is aware of what is causing this issue and that it is confident of solving it before deliveries begin in April. Nevertheless, this really does come across as a disappointment, and we're hoping to be able to put the Kratos through a thorough road test review as soon as Tork has sorted this out.
While the company definitely still has its work cut out with the motor, this chassis and the overall suspension setup is quite nice.
The Tork Kratos rides like a well-engineered product from a company with years of experience. The rider ergonomics are good, the chassis feels stable, and the suspension comfort is quite nice. Rough surfaces are absorbed well, and it's only the nasty potholes that will send a thud through the 42mm telescopic fork. The handling is also good fun, with the bike feeling planted and confident, yet agile and entertaining. Again, it reminds of a well-sorted 150 to 160cc bike in the handling department, and that is impressive.
The brakes are by Advic, a Pune-based component manufacturer, and you get a twin disc setup with a combined braking system. The braking performance is perfectly acceptable, but you've got to remember to use both your hands.
So the Tork Kratos feels and rides like a normal motorcycle, but this is an EV, so it's no surprise that Tork is claiming a whole bunch of connected features.
At a quick glance, this doesn't seem like a very technologically loaded motorcycle, and even that LCD display is rather simple to look at. But Tork is promising a lot of connected features with this machine.
The display is clear and legible in sunlight, but the circular gauges for the motor temperature and the battery percentage have tiny numbers that are quite hard to read. The LCD itself is quite conventional, and it has the usual readouts for things like distance to empty, trip data, and a clock. All the smart and connected features, well, those are saved for the Tork smartphone app, but this was not available for us to experience with the motorcycle. Nevertheless, here's a look at what Tork is offering with the Kratos and the Kratos R. The company says that the data charges for all these smart features will be free for the first year, followed by a subscription cost of about 250 rupees per month from the second year onwards. Tork is offering a 3-year 40,000 km warranty, and it plans to launch in a total of 6 cities this year, with Pune being the first. The bikes will be sold via a conventional dealer model, but the company will offer a service at home facility. The Tork Kratos is priced quite reasonably, and here's a look at what the ex-showroom prices will be like after FAME 2 and state subsidies have been applied.
They say that good things come to those who wait, and Lord knows that Tork has made us wait for their motorcycle. Unfortunately, based on what we've experienced today, if you're really interested in buying a Tork Kratos, we advise that you wait a little bit more.
While that surely won't be what potential customers will want to hear, Tork's credibility is the one factor that could earn it more of their patience. After all, this is a company made up of passionate engineers, and it's clearly not just another business with a rebadged product trying to cash in on the EV boom. Most of all though, Tork's bike undoubtedly has a lot of potential, and we're really hoping that the company can iron these issues out without having to delay its promised delivery timeline.